I just realized my best friend didn't actually deploy overseas and has been living 2 miles away the entire year. I was standing in the frozen food aisle at the grocery store on Westbrook Avenue when I saw him. Not a photo. Not someone who looked like him. Him. Liam Garrett. My best friend since high school. The guy who'd been deployed to Afghanistan for the past 11 months. The guy I'd been sending care packages to every 6 weeks. The guy whose military APO address I had memorized. He was wearing a faded Broncos hoodie, pushing a shopping cart, casually reading the nutrition label on a bag of frozen chicken wings like he hadn't spent the last year supposedly dodging Taliban insurgents in Kandahar. My phone was halfway out of my pocket before my brain caught up to what I was seeing. I dropped the frozen pizza I'd been holding. It hit the floor with a crack that made the elderly woman next to me jump. Liam looked up at the sound. Our eyes met for exactly 2 seconds. His face went pale. Then he abandoned his cart in the middle of the aisle and walked straight toward the emergency exit at the back of the store. Not ran. Walked. Like a man who knew he'd already been caught. That was 3 days ago. I haven't slept more than 2 hours at a time since. Every time I close my eyes, I see that moment replaying in slow motion. The way his shoulders tensed when he heard the pizza hit the floor. The way his hand tightened on the shopping cart handle. The split second where he decided whether to acknowledge me or run. The deliberate, measured speed of his retreat. But more than anything, I keep seeing the shopping cart he left behind. I went back to look at it after he disappeared through that emergency exit, even though the store manager was already calling someone to report a customer fleeing the premises. The cart had regular groceries in it. Milk, bread, a 12-pack of Coors Light, a prescription bag from the pharmacy with his name on it. The pickup date was 2 days earlier. The pharmacy address was local, 3 miles from the store, which meant he'd been filling prescriptions here, which meant he had a local address, which meant everything I thought I knew about the past year was a lie. Liam and I met freshman year of high school when we both tried out for the soccer team and were the only 2 kids who didn't make the cut. We bonded over being terrible at sports and spent the next 4 years becoming the kind of friends who could communicate in half sentences and inside jokes. After graduation, I went to community college for business administration. Liam enlisted in the Army. It was April, right after his 19th birthday. He said he wanted structure, wanted to serve, wanted to do something that mattered. I drove him to the recruitment office. I was there when he signed the papers. I threw him a going-away party before he left for basic training at Fort Benning. For the next 6 years, our friendship adapted to military life. He'd be stationed somewhere for 18 months, then somewhere else. We'd text constantly when he had service. I'd visit when he was stateside, when he got orders last February for a 12-month deployment to Afghanistan. It gutted both of us, but we'd been through separations before. This was just longer, more dangerous, but manageable. He flew out on March 8th. I remember because it was my younger sister's birthday, and I had to leave her party early to drive him to the airport. His deployment ceremony had been the week before at Fort Carson. I'd attended. I'd watched him stand in formation with his unit, watched family members cry and hold signs, watched the commanding officer give a speech about sacrifice and service, Lieutenant Colonel Francis Drummond. I remember his name because he had 3 Purple Hearts and walked with a limp. After the ceremony, Liam and I grabbed dinner at a steakhouse near the base. He seemed nervous, but ready. He talked about his team, about the mission parameters he was allowed to discuss, about how strange it would be to spend his 25th birthday in a combat zone. At the airport, we did the awkward half-hug thing guys do when they're pretending they're not emotional. He walked through security. I watched until I couldn't see him anymore. Then I went home and started counting down the days until March of the following year when he'd be back. For the first 3 months, contact was sporadic but consistent. He'd email every week or so, sometimes more if they had downtime. The emails were brief, carefully worded to avoid operational security violations. He'd mention the heat, the dust, the bizarre MRE flavors, the friendly rivalry between his unit and another. He'd ask about my life, about my job at the marketing firm, about whether I was still dating Vanessa. The messages felt authentic. They felt like Liam. In June, I sent him the first care package: beef jerky, wet wipes, powdered Gatorade mix, a handheld gaming device, a book he'd mentioned wanting to read. I used the APO military address his unit family contact had sent me in a welcome packet. The package took 3 weeks to arrive, but when it did, Liam sent me a photo of himself holding the beef jerky with his team in the background. They were all dusty and exhausted looking. The photo had metadata that said it was taken with an iPhone in low light. Nothing seemed unusual. I sent another package in August, then October. Each time I got a thank you message. Each time everything seemed normal. The texts were less frequent, but followed a pattern. He'd message every 10 days or so, usually something short. "Miss home, hope you're good." Or, 3 more months, "Can't wait for a real burger." The messages came at odd hours because of the time difference. Afghanistan is 8.5 hours ahead of Colorado, so a text at 2 in the morning my time would be mid-morning for him. It made sense. I never questioned it. In September, he called me on a satellite phone. The connection was terrible, breaking up every few seconds, but I could hear him. We talked for maybe 4 minutes before the call dropped. He sounded tired. He sounded far away. He sounded like someone who was exactly where he said he was. I had no reason to doubt any of it. Why would I? Liam had been my best friend for 11 years. We'd been through relationship breakups, family emergencies, career struggles, hangovers that should have killed us, road trips that tested our patience, and 1,000 mundane moments that built trust, brick by brick. The idea that he would lie to me about something this massive was inconceivable. But then I saw him in the grocery store, and now I'm sitting in my apartment at 4 in the morning, staring at 11 months of text messages on my phone, looking for cracks in the foundation. The more I look, the more I find. The texts never included current events, never mentioned specific news from Afghanistan that I could verify, never included details that were too precise. They were perfectly generic. Hot today, counting down. Training exercise ran long, exhausted. Mail call was good, thanks again. They could have been written from anywhere. The photos he'd sent were few, and now that I'm examining them with suspicion instead of trust, I can see they're careful. Never any identifying landmarks, never any newspapers or screens in the background showing dates, never any other soldiers whose faces I could cross-reference with real deployment rosters. The photo with the care package showed guys in uniform, but their name tapes were either blurred by the camera focus or angled away. The background was generic desert. It could have been Afghanistan. It could have been Nevada. The phone call in September bothers me most now. I'd assumed the terrible connection was because he was calling from a satellite phone in a war zone. But what if it was just a bad cell connection? What if he was sitting in a basement somewhere with 1 bar of service, using an app that added delay and static? I pull up the call log. It shows as unknown number, which is what I'd expect from a satellite phone. But it's also what I'd expect from someone using a burner phone or a spoofing service. I feel sick. I get up and pace my apartment, which is small enough that I can cross it in 9 steps. I've lived here for 3 years. Liam helped me move in. We carried my couch up 3 flights of stairs in August heat and nearly dropped it twice. Afterward, we ordered pizza and drank beer on that couch and talked about his next duty station. Everything felt solid then, real, based on truth. Now I'm questioning whether anything about my friendship with Liam was ever real. I try calling him. It goes straight to voicemail. The voicemail message is the generic automated one, not his voice. I've never thought about that before, but now it feels significant. I try 3 more times over the next hour. Straight to voicemail every time. I think about calling his parents, but what would I say? "Hi, I saw your son at the grocery store even though he's supposed to be deployed." They'd think I was confused, or crazy. They'd tell me I must have seen someone who looked like Liam. They'd remind me that they'd attended his deployment ceremony too, that they'd received emails from him, that they had no reason to believe he was anywhere but Afghanistan, unless they were in on it. That thought stops me cold. Could his parents be part of this? Could his whole family be lying? But why? What possible reason would Liam have to fake a deployment? The military doesn't just let people pretend to deploy. There are records, orders, chain of command, unless he never actually deployed. Unless he found a way to go AWOL without being reported AWOL. Unless this is bigger than just lying to me. I open my laptop and start searching. I look up Liam's unit. 3rd Brigade, 4th Infantry Division. They are deployed to Afghanistan. That's confirmed through multiple official sources. The deployment dates match what Liam told me. So the unit is real, and they're really overseas, which means either Liam was never part of that deployment, or he left the deployment without being reported missing. Both scenarios seem impossible. The army doesn't lose track of soldiers. Desertion is a serious crime. If Liam had gone AWOL from a combat deployment, there would be consequences. Military police would be looking for him. His family would know, unless somehow they don't know. Unless Liam found a way to game the system so thoroughly that everyone, including the army, thinks he's exactly where he's supposed to be. My hands are shaking as I type his name into Google with Afghanistan deployment added. Nothing comes up. No news articles about soldiers from his unit. Nothing. I try Facebook. His profile still shows his last post from March 7th, the day before his supposed deployment. A photo of him in uniform with the caption, "See you in a year. Stay safe, everyone." 347 likes, 62 comments wishing him safety and thanking him for his service. I scroll through the comments. His mom wrote, "So proud of you. Come home safe." His younger brother wrote, "Gonna miss you, bro. Kick some ass." I wrote, "You got this. Don't forget to email." Everyone believed it. Everyone was fooled. Or I'm wrong. Maybe I didn't see what I thought I saw. Maybe it was someone who looked exactly like Liam, down to the scar on his left eyebrow from when he crashed his bike in 10th grade. Maybe I'm having some kind of breakdown, and my brain invented the whole encounter because I miss my friend, and I'm stressed about work, and Vanessa just broke up with me, and I'm not processing reality correctly. I consider this possibility for about 30 seconds before dismissing it. I know what I saw. I know my best friend's face, and I know the way he looked at me in that grocery store wasn't the look of a stranger who happened to resemble someone I knew. It was the look of someone who'd been caught. Recognition and fear and guilt all crashing together in the span of a heartbeat before he made the decision to run. At 6 in the morning, I drive back to the grocery store. It's the 24-hour Safeway on Westbrook, the one that's open all night for third-shift workers and insomniacs. The same one where I saw Liam. I park in the lot and try to figure out what I'm even doing here. What am I hoping to find? That he'll come back? That he grocery shops at the same time every week? I'm about to leave when I remember the prescription bag, the pharmacy inside the Safeway. I walk into the store, past the frozen food aisle where it happened, straight to the pharmacy counter in the back. There's a young woman working, maybe 22, with bleached blonde hair and tired eyes. Her name tag says Morgan. I approach the counter and try to figure out how to phrase this without sounding insane. "Hi," I say. "I'm trying to track down a friend of mine. He picked up a prescription here recently." His name is Liam Garrett. Morgan looks at me like I've just asked her to help me rob the place. "Sir, I can't give out patient information. HIPAA laws." "I know. I'm not asking for his medical information. I just need to know if he's a regular customer here. It's important." Morgan shakes her head. "I literally can't tell you that. If you need to reach your friend, you should call him." He's not answering. Then maybe he doesn't want to talk to you. Her tone isn't rude, just matter of fact. I'm about to argue when I realize how creepy this looks. A stranger showing up at 6 in the morning demanding information about someone else's prescriptions. I thank her and leave. In the parking lot, I sit in my car and try to think strategically. If Liam is living locally, he has an address. If he has an address, there's a way to find it. I pull out my phone and scroll through old texts, looking for any clue I might have missed. In June, he'd texted me a photo of a sunset with the caption, "Pretty out here." I'd assumed it was a sunset in Afghanistan. I zoom in on the photo now, looking at the metadata. It was taken on an iPhone at 7:42 in the evening on June 15th. I look up what time sunset would have been in Kandahar on June 15th. 8:17 in the evening. Close, but not exact. I look up sunset time in Colorado Springs on June 15th. 7:41 in the evening. My stomach drops. I go through every photo he sent me. 8 total over 11 months. I check the metadata on each one. 4 of them have timestamps that align with Colorado time zones, not Afghanistan. One photo, from July, shows a mountain range in the distant background that looks suspiciously like the Rockies. Another, from October, has a tree in the far corner of the frame. The tree has yellow leaves, autumn foliage. Afghanistan doesn't have autumn foliage like Colorado does. The leaves change differently in a desert climate. These are small details. Details I never would have noticed if I wasn't looking for them. But now that I'm looking, they're everywhere. Every photo he sent me was taken in Colorado. He never left. He's been here the entire time. Which means this isn't just a lie. This is a meticulously planned deception that's been maintained for 11 months. And I have no idea why. I need help. I need someone who can navigate this without making it worse. I think about calling the police, but what would I report? That my friend lied about being deployed? That's not illegal. Stolen valor is only a crime if you're trying to obtain benefits or deceive people for financial gain. Lying to your friends, even about military service, isn't technically against the law unless there's fraud involved. But if Liam is pretending to be deployed while actually being AWOL from the Army, that's the Army's problem, not the civilian police. I need to contact the military. I look up the number for Fort Carson's military police. I call at 7 in the morning. A bored-sounding specialist answers. Fort Carson MP Station. How can I help you? I explain the situation as clearly as I can. I need to verify if a soldier is actually deployed where he says he is. I think he might be AWOL, but I'm not sure, and I don't want to make false accusations. The specialist sounds more interested now. What's the soldier's name and unit? I give him Liam's full name, rank, and unit information. There's typing on the other end of the line. A long pause. Then, "Sir, I can't give you specific information about personnel status, but if you have reason to believe a soldier is AWOL, you need to contact their unit's family readiness officer or file a report through official channels. Can you at least tell me if he's listed as deployed with his unit right now?" "Sir, I can't confirm or deny personnel movements for security reasons." I'm about to hang up in frustration when the specialist adds quieter. "But if you think something's wrong, you should definitely file a report. There's a form on the Fort Carson website. Takes about 10 minutes. Someone will follow up within 72 hours. I thank him and hang up. I find the form online. It's labeled Report of Suspected AWOL Personnel. I fill it out with everything I know. Liam's name, rank, social security number, which I have from when we signed an apartment lease together years ago, unit information, and a detailed description of seeing him at the grocery store. I attach screenshots of the text messages with timestamps. I submit the form at 7:43 in the morning. Then I wait. 72 hours feels like an eternity. I go to work at the marketing firm, but I can't focus. My boss, Alan Shepard, asks if I'm feeling okay during our Monday meeting. "You look like you haven't slept," he says. I tell him I'm dealing with a personal situation. He tells me to take the afternoon off if I need to. I don't take the afternoon off. I need the distraction. I sit at my desk and pretend to work on client campaigns while obsessively checking my phone every 10 minutes. No calls, no emails, no texts from Liam. At lunch, I drive to the area near the grocery store. It's a residential neighborhood called Westbrook Heights, cookie-cutter suburban homes built in the early 2000s. I drive up and down the streets, looking for Liam's truck. He drives a blue Ford F-150 with a dent in the rear bumper from when he backed into a pole 3 years ago. I don't see it anywhere. I expand my search radius. Nothing. I'm driving in circles, I realize. I'm stalking my own best friend through suburban neighborhoods, like a lunatic. I go back to work. That night, I get a call from an unknown number. I answer immediately. "This is Chief Warrant Officer Nathaniel Cross from the 3rd Brigade Combat Team Headquarters at Fort Carson. Am I speaking with Joel Stevens?" Joel Stevens. That's me. I almost forgot my own name for a second. "Yes, that's me. Mr. Stevens, I'm calling regarding the report you filed this morning about Specialist Liam Garrett. Can you verify that you filed this report?" "Yes, I did." "And you claim you saw Specialist Garrett at a civilian location in Colorado Springs 3 days ago?" "I didn't claim it. I did see him. At the Safeway on Westbrook Avenue. He ran when he saw me." There's a pause. I can hear papers rustling. "Mr. Stevens, Specialist Garrett is currently deployed with his unit in Afghanistan. He checked in with his chain of command 48 hours ago. I'm looking at the communication log right now." My brain stalls. "That's impossible. I saw him. I know what my best friend looks like." "Is it possible you saw someone who resembled Specialist Garrett?" "No. We made eye contact. He recognized me. He left his shopping cart and fled through the emergency exit." Chief Warrant Officer Cross is quiet for a moment. Then, "Mr. Stevens, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I need you to answer honestly. Have you been in contact with Specialist Garrett through unofficial channels? Any communication that didn't go through proper military networks? No. Everything's been through email and text and one satellite phone call. All normal communication. And when was your last contact with him? 5 days ago. He texted me saying he was counting down the last few months. More rustling papers. That aligns with the last communication we have logged from him. Mr. Stevens, I'm going to be frank with you. If Specialist Garrett is AWOL, it's a serious situation. But I'm looking at records that show he's exactly where he's supposed to be. His commander confirms he's present and accounted for. So either you're mistaken about who you saw, or something more complicated is happening. What does that mean? It means I'm going to forward this to our Criminal Investigation Command. CID will follow up with you directly. In the meantime, if you see Specialist Garrett again, do not approach him. Call military police immediately. Why can't I approach him? Mr. Stevens, if what you're saying is true, and Specialist Garrett is somehow in 2 places at once, then we're potentially looking at identity fraud, desertion, or something else entirely. Until we know what's happening, it's best if you keep your distance. He gives me a case number and hangs up. I sit on my couch, staring at my phone, trying to process what I just heard. Liam checked in with his unit 48 hours ago. But I saw him 3 days ago. Which means either someone else is checking in as Liam from Afghanistan, or Liam has somehow figured out how to fake check-ins while being stateside, or I'm losing my mind. I pull up the text Liam sent me 5 days ago. 3 more months. Crazy how fast it's going. Sent at 2:14 in the morning my time, 10:44 in the morning Afghanistan time. Normal, routine, exactly what I'd expect from someone deployed. I look at the phone number it came from. It's the same number Liam's had for years. His personal cell. Which doesn't make sense if he's deployed because deployed soldiers don't have regular cell service. They use military communication networks or satellite phones. How did I never question why Liam was texting me from his regular cell number while supposedly in Afghanistan? Because I trusted him. Because the brain fills in gaps with reasonable explanations when it comes to people you love. The next morning, I get a call from a woman who identifies herself as Special Agent Denise Crawford from the Army's Criminal Investigation Command. She has a voice like gravel and asks if she can meet me in person to discuss the situation. We agree to meet at a coffee shop near my apartment at noon. I arrive early and order coffee I don't drink. Agent Crawford arrives exactly on time. She's in her mid-40s, short dark hair, wearing civilian clothes but carrying herself with military posture. She sits across from me and pulls out a tablet. Mr. Stevens, I've reviewed your report and spoken with Chief Warrant Officer Cross. I need you to walk me through exactly what you saw at the grocery store, every detail you remember. I tell her everything. The frozen food aisle, the Broncos hoodie, the shopping cart, the prescription bag, the eye contact, the exit. She takes notes on the tablet, her face neutral. When I finish, she asks, "You said you've been friends since high school. 11 years. In that time, has Specialist Garrett ever given you reason to believe he was dishonest?" "No. Never. That's why this doesn't make sense." "Has he ever mentioned financial problems, legal issues, relationship troubles?" I think about it. He broke up with his girlfriend about a year ago. Before the deployment, she wanted to get married, he wasn't ready. It wasn't messy, just sad. But that was resolved before he left. Did he seem stressed about the deployment? Not more than anyone would be. He was nervous, but he seemed ready. I drove him to the airport. I watched him go through security. Agent Crawford nods. "Here's what I need to tell you, and I need you to understand the sensitivity of this information. Specialist Garrett is currently listed as present and accounted for with his unit in Afghanistan. His commander confirms this. His bunkmates confirm this. His duty roster shows he's been completing assignments. According to every official record we have, he's deployed. Then who did I see? That's what I'm trying to figure out. There are a few possibilities. 1. You saw someone who looks like Specialist Garrett, and confirmation bias made you certain it was him. 2. Specialist Garrett has an identical twin no one knows about, which seems unlikely. 3. Someone is impersonating Specialist Garrett in Afghanistan while the real Specialist Garrett is here. 4. This is more complicated than any of us understand. I lean forward. How would someone impersonate him in Afghanistan? The military has photos, fingerprints, DNA records, all of that. They do, which is why option 3 seems implausible. But I've been doing this job for 16 years, Mr. Stevens. I've seen things that shouldn't be possible. People who fake their own deaths, soldiers who swap identities, deserters who hide in plain sight. The military is a bureaucracy, and bureaucracies have gaps. If someone is clever and motivated enough, they can exploit those gaps. So what happens now? Now I investigate. I'm going to need you to send me every communication you've had with Specialist Garrett since his deployment. Texts, emails, photos, everything. I'm also going to ask you not to tell anyone about this conversation. That includes Specialist Garrett's family. If someone is running a sophisticated deception, we don't want to tip them off. She slides a business card across the table. If you see him again, call me immediately. Don't approach. Don't confront. Just call. I take the card. My hands are still shaking. For the next week, I exist in a strange limbo. I go to work. I forward all my communications with Liam to Agent Crawford. I check my phone obsessively. No new texts from Liam, no calls, nothing. It's the longest we've gone without contact since he supposedly deployed. On day 8, Agent Crawford calls me. Mr. Stevens, I need you to come to Fort Carson tomorrow at 9 in the morning. Bring identification. Ask for me at the Visitors Center. What did you find? I'd rather discuss it in person. She hangs up. I don't sleep that night. I arrive at Fort Carson at 8:45 the next morning. The Visitors Center processes my ID and gives me a temporary pass. Agent Crawford meets me there and escorts me to a nondescript building on base. We go to a conference room on the second floor. There's another person waiting inside, a man in his early 30s wearing army dress blues with a name tape that says, Garrett. He looks exactly like Liam, but it's not Liam. The resemblance is uncanny, but something about the eyes is wrong. The way he holds himself is wrong. He stands when I enter, and Agent Crawford closes the door behind us. Mr. Stevens, Agent Crawford says, this is Specialist Liam Garrett, currently deployed with 3rd Brigade, 4th Infantry Division in Afghanistan. He arrived stateside 6 hours ago on an emergency leave flight. Specialist Garrett, this is Joel Stevens, the man who filed the report. I stare at the man in front of me. He stares back. His face is identical to Liam's. Same strong jawline, same scar above the left eyebrow, same slightly crooked front tooth, but his eyes are different, harder, less familiar. I don't understand, I say. Agent Crawford gestures for us both to sit. 3 days ago, I contacted Specialist Garrett's command in Afghanistan and requested his personnel file be audited. I also requested a video call with him to verify his identity. During that call, Specialist Garrett told me something interesting. He said he's been receiving strange messages from home, messages suggesting that someone is impersonating him stateside. He thought it was a prank. He ignored it. But when I showed him your report, he realized it wasn't a prank. The man who looks like Liam speaks for the first time. His voice is wrong, similar, but the cadence is off. My brother, he says. That's who you saw. My brain short-circuits. You don't have a brother. I have a twin brother, Evan. We haven't spoken in 4 years. Agent Crawford pulls up something on her tablet and slides it across the table. It's a birth certificate. 2 names, Liam Garrett and Evan Garrett, born 3 minutes apart. I feel like I'm having an out-of-body experience. You never told me you had a twin. The man who is Liam but not my Liam looks uncomfortable. We don't talk about him. He's not part of my life. Hasn't been since we were 21. Why not? Because Evan has problems. Serious problems. Drug addiction, theft, compulsive lying. When we were 21, he stole my identity to open credit cards in my name, racked up $40,000 in debt. My parents bailed him out on the condition that he leave and never contact the family again. He agreed. I thought he was in California. I thought this chapter was closed. Agent Crawford leans forward. Mr. Stevens, it appears that Evan Garrett has been impersonating his brother for the past year. He somehow knew about the deployment and used it as cover to insert himself into your life and Liam's life while Liam was overseas. I can't process this. But I've known Liam for 11 years. I've seen photos of him growing up. I've met his family multiple times. No one ever mentioned a twin. The real Liam looks pained. My family doesn't talk about Evan. It's too painful. He burned every bridge, stole from everyone who trusted him. By the time you and I met freshman year, Evan was already gone. I was trying to rebuild my life without his shadow hanging over me. I never told anyone at school about him. But your parents, your brother, they must have known Evan was around. If they did, they didn't tell me, and I never asked. I wanted him erased from my life. Agent Crawford interjects. We're still piecing together how Evan knew about the deployment and how he's been maintaining the deception. But based on what we've learned so far, it appears Evan has been living in Colorado Springs for at least a year. He likely monitored Liam's social media and communication. When Liam deployed, Evan saw an opportunity. He started intercepting Liam's emails and texts. He responded as Liam to maintain the illusion that Liam was deployed and communicating normally with friends and family. How is that possible? How do you intercept someone's emails and texts? If Evan had access to Liam's passwords, he could have logged into his accounts remotely. He could have set up forwarding rules. There are also spyware apps that can be installed on phones remotely if you have enough technical knowledge. We're working with the FBI's Cyber Crimes Division to trace exactly how he did it. The real Liam speaks again. Evan was always good with computers. When we were kids, he hacked the school's grade system for fun. Never got caught. My parents thought he'd grow out of it. He didn't. I look at this man who is Liam, but also isn't. If you're the real Liam, prove it. Tell me something only you would know. He doesn't hesitate. 10th grade. You asked Emma Kowalski to homecoming and she said yes. Then the day before the dance, she canceled because her ex-boyfriend wanted to get back together. You were devastated. I bought you a case of Mountain Dew and we spent the night playing Halo in your basement. You made me promise never to tell anyone you cried over Emma Kowalski. I kept that promise until right now. The memory hits me like a truck. That happened. Exactly like that. Emma Kowalski with her blonde hair and her apologetic smile. The Mountain Dew. The Halo marathon. The crying I was ashamed of. I never told another soul about that night. Okay, I say quietly. You're the real Liam. He nods. I'm sorry you got dragged into this. Evan ruins everything he touches. Agent Crawford stands. We're currently trying to locate Evan Garrett. He's wanted for identity theft, fraud, and potentially more charges depending on what else we uncover. Mr. Stevens, I need you to keep doing what you've been doing. If he contacts you, if you see him, call me immediately. Do not engage. What if he realizes you're onto him? That's a risk we're managing. Evan is smart, but he's also impulsive. Addicts usually are. He'll make a mistake. She pauses. There's one more thing. We need to figure out how much damage Evan has done while pretending to be Liam. That means auditing every relationship Liam has, every friend, every family member, anyone Evan might have contacted or deceived. Over the next 2 weeks, my world becomes a crime investigation. Agent Crawford interviews me 3 more times. She brings in FBI Special Agent Omar Bashir from the Cyber Crimes Unit. Agent Bashir is younger, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and the kind of intensity that makes you sit up straight. He walks me through how Evan likely gained access to Liam's digital life. It's called social engineering, Agent Bashir explains during one interview. Evan probably started small, a forgotten password reset, a security question he knew the answer to because he's Liam's twin. Once he had access to one account, he could chain that access to others. Email leads to bank accounts. Bank accounts lead to phone records. Phone records lead to everything else. With enough patience, you can take over someone's entire digital identity without them ever knowing. But Liam would have noticed. He would have gotten notifications. Not if Evan was smart about it. He could have set up filters to redirect notifications. He could have changed recovery email addresses. And remember, Liam was deployed. Limited internet access, spotty communication. The perfect cover for someone to hijack his identity. The FBI starts tracing Evan's activities. They find he's been using Liam's credit cards, small purchases, nothing that would trigger fraud alerts, gas stations, grocery stores. The prescription at the Safeway pharmacy was for anxiety medication filled under Liam's name and insurance. Evan had been posing as Liam to get prescription drugs. They find he's been living in a rented house in Westbrook Heights, 2 miles from the grocery store where I saw him. 2 miles from where I live. The landlord confirms a man matching Evan's description rented the house under the name Liam Garrett, provided a military ID, and paid rent in cash for 6 months up front. When Agent Crawford and Agent Bashir raid the house with local police, Evan is gone. But the evidence they find is staggering. The house is filled with Liam's stolen life. Photos of Liam in uniform on the walls, military gear, fake deployment orders printed on official-looking letterhead, a laptop with folders full of intercepted emails and texts, a burner phone with the number Liam has been texting me from for 11 months. In the bedroom, they find a journal. Agent Crawford shows me excerpts during an interview. The journal entries are disturbing. March 9th. Liam's gone. Finally. A whole year to be the better version. The version people actually like. Joel texted already, asking how the flight was. Easy to answer. Easy to be Liam. He never appreciated what he had. May 3rd. Sent Joel a care package photo. Used an old picture from before Liam deployed. He didn't even notice. No one notices. No one questions. I'm better at being Liam than Liam ever was. July 20th. Saw Mom at the store. She didn't recognize me. I wanted to tell her, wanted to see her face when she realized. But I didn't. Let her keep thinking her precious Liam is overseas being a hero while the screw-up son she abandoned is right here, living his life better than he ever did. The entries go on. Hundreds of pages. Evan had been meticulously documenting his deception. He'd been planning this for longer than a year. He'd been watching Liam, studying him, waiting for an opportunity. The deployment was that opportunity. Agent Crawford tells me that Evan had a history of identity theft, but this was different. This wasn't about money. This was about revenge, about becoming the person everyone loved instead of the person everyone rejected. By week 3, the investigation expands. Agent Bashir discovers that Evan had been doing more than just pretending to be Liam to friends and family. He'd been trying to assume Liam's entire life. He'd changed Liam's mailing address to the rental house. He'd attempted to file for a hardship discharge from the Army in Liam's name, claiming mental health issues. That attempt had been flagged and denied because it didn't match Liam's service record, but it showed how far Evan was willing to go. He'd also been running scams, using Liam's military status to get discounts and free meals, posting on veteran forums asking for financial help, setting up a fake GoFundMe claiming Liam had been injured in combat and needed medical funds. That GoFundMe had raised $6,000 before it was discovered and shut down. The FBI starts contacting everyone who donated. Most are understanding when they learn about the fraud. A few are furious. One donor, a veteran named Curtis Brennan, drives to Fort Carson to meet with Agent Crawford personally. I gave $500, Curtis tells her in my presence during one interview. $500 I didn't have because I thought I was helping a fellow soldier. You find this bastard. You make him pay. The media gets wind of the story. A reporter from the Colorado Springs Gazette contacts me asking for an interview. Agent Crawford tells me not to talk to press, but the story runs anyway. Twin brother impersonates deployed soldier in elaborate year-long deception. The article is mostly accurate, though it gets some details wrong. It doesn't name me, but it names Liam and Evan. Within hours, the story is picked up by national news, CNN, Fox, MSNBC. Everyone wants the story of the evil twin stealing his hero brother's life. Liam hates it. He's still stateside on emergency leave, dealing with the fallout. We meet for coffee at a place downtown. It's awkward. I'm looking at the face of my best friend, but I keep seeing Evan. Liam notices. I know it's weird, he says. I know you can't unsee him when you look at me. It's not that. It's just processing that I spent 11 months talking to someone who wasn't you. I'm sorry. I should have told you about Evan when we first became friends. I thought if I never mentioned him, he'd just stay gone. Does your family know about everything Evan did? They know now. My mom's devastated. My dad's furious. My younger brother wants to find Evan himself and beat the shit out of him, which I've told him is a terrible idea. What happens when they find him? He'll go to prison. Federal charges for identity theft, wire fraud, computer fraud, probably state charges too. Agent Crawford said he's looking at 10 to 15 years minimum. Liam stares into his coffee. Part of me hopes they never find him. Part of me wants him to just disappear and leave us all alone. But I know that's not realistic. He'll surface eventually. Guys like Evan always do. We sit in silence for a while. Then I ask the question that's been bothering me. Why didn't he just reach out? If he wanted back in your life, why do it this way? Liam sighs. Because Evan doesn't think like normal people. He spent his whole life blaming everyone else for his problems. Our parents kicked him out, so they're monsters. I moved on without him. So I'm a traitor. In his mind, he deserves to take what we have because we took something from him first. A week later, Evan is arrested. Not by military police or the FBI, but by the Colorado Springs Police Department on a routine traffic stop. He's driving Liam's truck, the blue Ford F-150 with the dent in the bumper, with expired registration. The officer runs the plates, sees they're registered to a military service member currently deployed, and calls it in as suspicious. When Evan can't produce proper identification, they arrest him. He's processed at the El Paso County Jail and held without bond. Agent Crawford calls me within an hour. We got him. Thought you'd want to know. I feel relief and something else. Disappointment, maybe. That it ended with something as mundane as a traffic stop. Agent Bashir and Agent Crawford interview Evan extensively over the following days. He confesses to everything: the identity theft, the email interception, the fake care package photos, the prescription fraud, the GoFundMe scam. He shows them how he did it: the spyware app he installed on Liam's phone remotely before the deployment, the phishing email he sent Liam's parents to get their passwords, the VA website vulnerability he exploited to access military records. During one interview, which Agent Crawford later shares with me in redacted form, Evan talks about why he did it. I wanted to know what it felt like, he says on the recording, to be the good one, the one everyone's proud of. Liam got all of it: the respect, the love, the second chances. I got nothing. So I took it. And you know what? It felt amazing. For 11 months, I was Liam. People looked at me and saw a hero. They thanked me for my service. They treated me like I mattered. Joel texted me about his day like I was important to him. My mom walked past me in a grocery store and didn't even recognize me because, why would she? The disappointment son doesn't exist anymore. Only the perfect son. There's a pause in the recording. Then Agent Crawford's voice. Did you feel any guilt about deceiving Joel Stevens? He considered you his best friend. Evan laughs. It's a bitter sound. Joel considered Liam his best friend, not me. He never even knew I existed. None of them did. That's the point. The trial is set for 6 months out. Evan is indicted on 14 federal charges and 8 state charges. His public defender tries to argue for a plea deal. The prosecution refuses. They want the maximum sentence. Liam doesn't attend the trial. He's back in Afghanistan, finishing his deployment. He's got 3 months left, and Agent Crawford advised him to complete it rather than take another emergency leave. It'll show you're resilient, she told him, that this didn't break you. I attend some of the trial. It's held in federal court in Denver. The prosecution lays out everything: the timeline, the technology, the victims. They call me as a witness. I spend 2 hours on the stand explaining my friendship with Liam, how Evan deceived me, the text messages, the grocery store encounter, everything. Evan's defense attorney tries to paint me as someone who should have known better. You've been friends with Liam Garrett for 11 years, the attorney says, and you never noticed anything different about the texts, the tone, the personality? Evan is Liam's twin, I say. He studied Liam his entire life. He knew how to be convincing. The defense tries to argue that Evan suffers from mental illness, that his drug addiction impaired his judgment, that his family abandoning him created trauma that led to this behavior. The prosecution counters with expert testimony from Dr. Rachel Nguyen, a forensic psychiatrist who evaluated Evan. Mr. Garrett exhibits antisocial personality traits, Dr. Nguyen testifies, but he is not legally insane. He knew what he was doing was wrong. He planned it meticulously. He took steps to avoid detection. This wasn't the act of someone who couldn't control themselves. This was calculated deception. The jury deliberates for 3 days. They come back with guilty verdicts on all charges. At sentencing, the judge is harsh. Mr. Garrett, you didn't just steal your brother's identity. You stole a year of his life. You stole his relationships. You stole his reputation. You committed fraud against people who trusted what they believed was a deployed service member. You showed no remorse until you were caught. This court sentences you to 12 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years supervised release. You will also be required to pay restitution to all victims, including your brother. Evan shows no emotion when the sentence is read. He's led out of the courtroom in handcuffs. I feel nothing watching him go. Maybe relief, maybe exhaustion. Mostly I feel sad for what was lost, not for Evan. For the year I thought I was maintaining a friendship with my best friend, when really I was being manipulated by a stranger. Liam finishes his deployment 2 months after the trial. I pick him up from the airport in March, exactly 1 year after I dropped him off. We hug. It feels right this time. Real. We don't talk about Evan on the drive home. We talk about normal things, how the deployment actually went, what he wants for dinner, whether he's going to re-enlist or get out of the army. At his parents' house, there's a small welcome home gathering. His mom cries. His dad shakes his hand with pride. His younger brother makes jokes about how Liam looks old. It's normal. It's healing. Later, Liam and I sit on his parents' back porch with beers. The sun is setting behind the mountains. I've been thinking, Liam says, about what Evan said during the trial, that he wanted to know what it felt like to be me. Yeah? It's screwed up, but I kind of understand it. Not the stealing and lying part, but the feeling of being in someone's shadow, of thinking everyone likes the other person better. You were never in his shadow. You're not responsible for his choices. I know. But I wish things had been different. I wish our parents had gotten him help instead of just cutting him off. Maybe this wouldn't have happened. Or maybe it would have happened anyway. Some people are broken in ways you can't fix. Liam nods. We sit in silence, watching the sunset. After a while, he says, "Thanks for figuring it out, for not just brushing it off when you saw him. I couldn't brush it off. You're my best friend. I know your face." He smiles at that. Yeah, you do. 3 years later, I still think about that year sometimes, about how easy it is to deceive someone when you know them well enough. How trust creates blind spots, how the people closest to us can be strangers in familiar skin. Evan is serving his sentence at a federal facility in Pennsylvania. Liam got out of the army after his deployment and now works as a contractor doing logistics. We still talk constantly, still grab beers and watch games and maintain the friendship we've had since we were 15. But it's different now. Not worse, just different. More careful, more aware. I check the metadata on photos. I listen for speech patterns. I verify things I used to take on faith. Maybe that makes me paranoid. Or maybe it just makes me realistic. The world is full of people wearing masks. Sometimes those masks look exactly like the faces we trust most. And sometimes the only way to tell the difference is to pay attention to the small things. The sunset times. The tree leaves. The way someone's eyes change when they're caught. I never saw Evan again after the trial. I don't want to. But I know he's there, in that prison in Pennsylvania, serving time for stealing a life that was never his. And I know Liam is here, living the life Evan tried to take. In the end, truth won. Justice was served. The system worked the way it was supposed to. But the scar remains. The year I lost. The friendship I have to rebuild every day by choosing to trust again. That's the real theft, I think. Not the identity or the money or the reputation. It's the ability to trust without questioning, to believe without verifying, to look at your best friend's face and know, without doubt, that it's really him. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.